Hi friends, my name is Robin Eckersley and I am Chief Learning Officer over at Square Circle, and it is actually today that I come to you as a Square Circle coach. We're going to be taking a look at how you can adjust your self-care practices to specifically and strategically address your shifting needs in these shelter-in-place COVID-19 times. Now, I'm super excited because this is the very first episode of our Belong series that we're sharing exclusively on LinkedIn. So my aim for today is to be able to provide you with actionable, immediately implementable tips that you can go ahead and take into account and start working into your life right away. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm just going to share my slides with you here and we can get started. Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at three main areas today. First, we're going to talk about establishing self-care routines for your foundation. Set a really nice, strong baseline so that you can have all of your baseline needs taken care of. Then we're going to move into growth and development. So where do we go once we establish that strong foundation? How can you evolve and start to shine from there? And then finally, we're going to wrap up with some actionable tips and some reminders to keep with you as you go forward and find a routine and build a routine that works for you best. So let's go ahead and get started with your foundation. But first, let me just give a brief introduction to myself. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Chief Learning Officer, and in that role, it's my job to effectively develop and support employees holistically as the whole human being. We don't at Square Circle want to be treating individuals just as resumes, just as cogs and wheels in a machine. We see employees as the whole person first. And so the tips and the support that we provide, we address the entire human being first from the inside out. Today, I am, like I said, coming to you as a Square Circle coach, where my area of expertise is around self-empowerment. So we're talking about shifting mindsets. We're talking about motivation and habit formation. We're talking about long-term goal setting. So really personal transformation that's going to support you as the human being going forward. And self-care is a huge part of self-empowerment. So for purposes of today, we're going to be taking a look at self-care with a very intentional lens. We want to be strategic about what we're doing while feeling good, and traditional or stereotypical methods of self-care can feel good. We want to make sure that you're actually fully supporting yourself as best you can, with the intention of you being able to show up fully for your work, for your family, for your household, etc. We're going to take a look at 4 different areas to establish your strong foundation, and then we're going to move into 3 areas to move you forward through growth and development. So if we start with the foundation, there are 4 main areas here. First, you want to take a look at your physical and biological well-being. So what does your physical body need to be showing up and thriving in the day? This means getting enough sleep. This means good nutrition. This means moving and getting the blood flowing. So whatever an appropriate exercise routine is for your ability and for your current state of health. Physical and biological well-being is its own category when we talk about establishing self-care for your foundation. Then let's take a look at your mental and emotional well-being. How are you caring for this aspect of your holistic person? So essentially, we want to be striving for a place where we can come to whatever situation, if it's a conversation, if it's a meeting, if it's just, heads down work, we want to come to that with clarity, a sense of peace, a sense of capability, saying, okay, I know what I'm doing here, and I have my priorities laid out for me. I know exactly what I'm going to be working on, and I'm in a place that's emotionally and mentally supported here. Third, we want to take a look at self-care habits and routines that address your sense of safety and security. There's a lot of news coming out these days that can evoke a sense of fear, a sense of nervousness, a sense of anxiety. This is very common, and if you're experiencing this, you're definitely not alone. If you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling like your sense of safety is being challenged, do what you can to remind yourself that in this moment, all is well. Sometimes it just means taking it moment by moment, day by day, and just saying, hey, we are together in a state of flux. We're together in a state of uncertainty, but we're doing the best we can with what we have. And then fourth, when we talk about your foundation, we want to make sure that you can actually recognize your needs. So a lot of times when we're under additional stress, when we're under a state of anxiety, it can be easy for us to go into simply at coping, just get through the day, kind of bulldoze straight ahead approach, and we're not recognizing the red flags that are coming up. So what does stress look like for you? What does the opposite of emotional well-being, what does, when your body is needing something physiologically, what are the little blips that come up on the radar that are saying, hey, I need some extra attention here? And what does that look like for you? Because that's going to be a very unique situation to how your body responds to unfavorable conditions. So getting in touch with what your needs look like when they flare up will really serve you when you start to build your self-care foundation here. Once we establish that baseline and we start to get some habits and some routines in place to establish a strong foundation, we want to be growing from there. We want to be developing ourselves and our relationships and our talents from there. So this area, we move into 3 different categories. 1, your relationships, 2, your self-esteem, and 3, your sense of purpose. So when I talk about relationships, this isn't just your relationships with other people, let's say your supervisor or your colleagues, your employees, your family members and loved ones and friends. This is also your relationship with yourself. So when you consider the, let's say the dialogue that you're having with yourself, maybe you set very high expectations and you get very judgmental and self-deprecating if you don't meet those expectations. What is it like to be in a relationship with yourself, and what can you do to bring that relationship to a very healthy and empowered place? When we talk about relationships with other people, we're taking a look at your sense of connection with those others and your sense of belonging with other people in a community. So when we're in a physically disconnected environment, let's take a look at what generating a sense of connection and belonging looks like for you to feel those emotions. So does that mean adjusting how you communicate with your team and your loved ones? Does this mean that you shift the dynamic of your relationship in some way? There are many companies who are doing online happy hours, water cooler chats virtually, but finding what really generates that feeling of connection and belonging for you is time and energy well spent in this area. Moving into a sense of self-esteem, this means we're taking a look at your sense of achievement and accomplishment. That sense of pride when you've accomplished something that you're really proud of or that you have checked off and you've worked really hard for, and developing a sense of ability and expertise. So there's a reason that a lot of people right now are trying to learn new things. They're picking up the language. They're trying to, learn how to cook a new dish. That sense of being able to learn something new or to further master something they already know how to do is an important generation of pride and accomplishment that builds in this area of self-esteem. So when we talk about the holistic well-being of an individual, this is something to definitely pay attention to and see what that looks like for you. Finally, the final area that we're going to be talking about today in terms of self-care with intention is a sense of purpose. Now, when we refer to purpose, this means generally alignment with a sense of a mission, alignment with your core values, and the vision that you have for yourself and for your future. So when you take a look at the way that you're spending your time and energy and resources day to day, how aligned are those decisions and those investments with your sense of having a personal mission, with your core values, with the long-term vision you have for yourself and your ideal life? This is something that doesn't get as much attention as maybe your physiological and mental and emotional well-being might. But it's a very key aspect of feeling like you can show up fully and be present for your day-to-day activities and showing up for your responsibilities. So this is something that is absolutely worth taking a look at and saying, okay, what can I do to enhance my sense of purpose in this time. Now, something that is really useful in this area is to ask yourself, what can I do where I am with what I have? When we're in a situation like a global pandemic, it's very easy to focus on what you don't have. It can very easily slip into a mindset of lack and of scarcity. Saying, here are all the things I don't have access to anymore. Here are all the things that I no longer have. We don't want to be dwelling in that space. It's very common to be, and normal to be coming back to that mindset, especially if you're tuned into the news. However, we want to be setting ourselves up from a place of empowerment and saying, okay, I'm not going to focus on what I don't have access to or what's not working. I'm going to be turning my attention to what is working. What can I do where I am with what I have? This is acknowledging the fact that we are all very resourceful, innovative individuals. Let's focus on that and come from a solution-based perspective instead of a scarcity and problem-based perspective. So as you're building your self-care routines and thinking about these 7 areas that we touched today, what's going to enhance those different areas for you? You want to start playing with a routine and seeing what's working and coming up with small, actionable behaviors and decisions that can fit in at the end of the sentence. No matter what else happens today, for example, I'm going to drink at least 4 glasses of water. If that's going to serve your, for example, physiological well-being and also a sense of mental clarity, that's something that's very easy, that you can keep track of, that's very accessible for most people. Chances are, if you're watching this video, it's probably quite accessible for you to get drinking water, 4 glasses of that. So we're not looking to completely overhaul your day with a completely different self-care routine. We're looking to play, to find different small activities. And just because the action is small, it doesn't mean that it's ineffective, because when you're coming from a place of intention and targeted conscious decision making, that enhances the effect that the actions you're choosing will have, because you know mentally that you're connecting the dots between the action and the purpose that it's serving today. So we're looking at, no matter what else happens today, I can ... And we want those actions to serve intentionally and to be small. We want to do little bite-sized behavior modifications here. Now, something to keep in mind is as you go forward and trying on different routines, is to really exercise compassion and a sense of patience with yourself as you figure this out, as you figure out what does a self-empowering self-care routine look like for you, and be encouraging. Find what works, find what doesn't, lean into the process and treat life as kind of a test kitchen at this point. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just what's going to serve best and what's not going to serve as much. And when you're building out your routines, be very intentional about the effects, be very intentional about the behaviors that you try on. Find and just feel what supports you the most in this day and age. And then always, we want to be working backwards whenever possible. So when we think about that long-term vision that lines up with your sense of purpose, that final category that we talked about in the growth and development section, you want to choose behaviors and actions and self-care routines that are moving you toward the ideal version of the life that you aim to be living. So ideally, what would you mentally, physically, and emotionally love to be experiencing on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis? What behaviors can you put into place that are going to foster and nurture those experiences for you? So you want to say, this is what I want to be working for. This is what I would love to be experiencing on a day-to-day basis in my life. What can I do now to move me closer to that, to normalizing that experience? So I hope these tips are useful to you. And if there's someone in your life or someone on your team who could use this information, please feel free to share this video with them. We are going to be releasing more videos with bite-sized, actionable tips to help serve you and your teammates in these pandemic times. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about the information that was shared with you today, or if you're interested in how Square Circle can serve you and support you and your team going forward. We have amazing care packages that we've put together just for the pandemic and how teams have been affected in these times. So we look forward to hearing from you. And also, if there's something specific that you would love support around in the format of this type of webinar, also please reach out. We would love to chat. We're here to serve, and we've got your back in these times. Have a wonderful day.